What's up everyone, and thank you for stopping by the channel. Today's project is this Poland leaf blower, and the problem is I just bought it for $10 and I don't know if it works. Let's take a good look at it, find out what's wrong with it, and hopefully we can fix it. In this video, we try and repair this blower. However, it may not be the exact repair you need to make to yours. We'll explore other options later in the video. I saw an ad for some blowers, and this is one of them. They were asking $10 just for this one, and they said it needed some work, which in hindsight was a huge understatement. I gave them the money and put it in the back of my car, and here it is. Now this blower is in excellent condition though, and for $10 it was worth it just in parts alone. It doesn't look like it was used that much, so how bad could it be? Now the first thing I like to do is see how worn out the engine is, and the easiest way is to slowly pull on the rope and feel how much the engine is fighting back. So unfortunately I wasn't able to pull the rope. That means there's either something wrong with the recoil assembly, or worse yet, the engine is locked up. I want to take a peek inside the engine, and the easiest way is to look at the spark plug. If there's nothing wrong with the plug, then more than likely there's something wrong with the recoil. And that's not very promising. The plug has red rust on it, along with some white deposits, so more than likely the combustion chamber has corrosion in it from water damage, and that's keeping the piston stuck in place. Now I see why this blower was only $10. Well, we have a couple of options here. We can either stop the repair here and just use the blower for parts, or we can try to free up the engine and see if we can get it going again. I will say there's a very low chance of getting this blower working again, but since it's already broken, I don't see how I could make it any worse. So more than likely the engine is frozen in place due to corrosion and rust inside the engine. To try and free it up, I want to try and rotate the engine just to see how bad it is. However, I don't want to pull on the rope, otherwise I might damage the recoil. Now another way to try and turn the engine is to try to move the impeller. Just be very careful, you don't want to break it. We just want to see if we can get the engine to move any. Now since it looks like it's pretty much stuck, we'll move on to our next step. To get a better view inside the engine, we need to take the muffler off and see just how bad it is. Now to get to the muffler, we need to remove this plastic cover, then we can remove the bolts holding the muffler to the engine. I've never seen this before. You can see a rust trail coming out of the muffler. This thing has been sitting outside for a long time getting rained on. The trail has even stained the inside of the cover as well. Hopefully the muffler isn't completely rusted on the inside. So here's the exhaust port, and as you can see there's a small bit of rust where the muffler was, but nothing else. We can see the side of the piston and the ring, but I can't see any other signs of corrosion, so it may not be as bad as it looks. The next thing I want to do is try to spray some PB Blaster inside the cylinder, but you can use whatever light lubricant you have on hand. It's a good thing that the piston is near the top of its travel, that way the liquid won't leak out of the exhaust port. I'll replace the spark plug and wait till the next day, and hopefully I can get this engine to rotate. If your cylinder is in a downward position, you'll just have to keep spraying it periodically till you're ready to try and rotate it. So it's been about 24 hours since I sprayed some PB Blaster in the cylinder. I did check it last night to make sure it hadn't leaked past the piston and ring, but to my surprise it was still at the same level. Also the spark plug looks to be a bit cleaner as well, but more than likely we'll have to replace it anyway. As you can see, there's still plenty in there, so the next thing we need to do is try and rotate the engine by gently pushing on the impeller. So it finally broke free. However, it seems to be getting stuck again, so I'm going to use a bit of leverage. Now make sure you only turn it counterclockwise, otherwise you'll be fighting against the recoil system. As I put a few more turns into it, it seems to be getting better. After that, I'll check to make sure the pull rope is working as well. As you can see, as I'm pulling the rope, it's forcing out whatever's dissolved inside the cylinder. This would probably be a good time to start spraying some carburetor cleaner inside the engine and pull it some more so it gets rid of whatever's dissolved in there. I think it would be a good idea to remove the engine's side cover and see what kind of damage there might be. It couldn't be any worse than what was keeping the piston from moving. Well, I was wrong. There's a lot of corrosion in here as well, so I'll scrape loose whatever I can and spray it away with carburetor cleaner. Another reason why this engine would lock up would be old varnished fuel. I had this happen to me with an Echo trimmer, and the reason was improper storage. The fuel slowly leaked into the engine while being stored in a hot outdoor shed during the summer. The fuel literally glued the piston in place, but spraying some carburetor cleaner into the engine through the spark plug hole took care of it. Oh, and if you're curious, I've almost used about half a can of carburetor cleaner on this blower so far. I think it's clean enough for me to try and start it now, so there is some metal damage in there, but I don't think it's going to keep the engine from working. I'll check it again later on when we get this blower running again. If it needs it, we'll clean it some more. Next, I'll put some fuel in the spark plug hole, replace the plug, and then try starting it again. So unfortunately, it didn't start, so now I have to wonder if the engine is worn out. Now the easiest way to check is to slowly pull on the rope and see how much the engine is fighting back, and unfortunately it's not fighting back that much, but I'll check that here in a moment. First, I want to see if we have spark by using a spark checker. Now you can find these at your local auto parts store or online for a few dollars. Just install it in line with the spark plug, find a shady place, and then pull the rope a few times. We want to see an orange glow in the middle of the tester. So we do have spark, which is great news. Now you don't need a spark checker to see if you have spark. You can also install the plug back on its wire, touch the metal part of the plug to some metal on the engine, and pull the rope a few times. You should see some spark at the tip of the plug. If you don't see spark, then you might have a bad ignition module. So I paused this video so you can see the spark. Even in the shade, it's really hard to see this tiny spark, but this test still works. Sometimes the spark checker is a bit easier to use, so I use it more often than this method. The next thing I want to do is use a compression tester. Now you can find these at your local auto parts store or online, and I bought this one for about $15 shipped to my door. It'll test how much compression the engine can make. I want to see a number around 150 psi, and if it's lower than 100, then the engine might be worn out. Now simply remove the spark plug and install it in the spark plug hole, squeeze the trigger, and pull the rope several times. Well, the reading is about 50 psi, which means we don't have enough compression for this engine to run. The reason for this problem could be a worn out piston ring, but we might be able to replace it, or something less likely, which is a piston ring that's stuck to the piston and isn't making contact with the cylinder. Now, since our piston was corroded in place, the second reason might be our problem. So my question is, what should I do with this blower? Should I take the cylinder off and inspect the piston ring and give us a definitive answer to our problem? Or should I do nothing and just keep it for parts? Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask any questions, and I hope to see you in the next video.